Good morning, golf fans. It's your boy Gsluke here with our weekly DFS live stream, little review stream for the Rocket Mortgage. We've got Ricky down there. What's going on? Cheers to you. We were able to hit that outright. A hit for 28K there this week. Put 2K on my boy to win. Was one of the bigger splits we've had for quite some time. Not one of the bigger, longer outright numbers that we've had, but still, great to see somebody like that crack back into the winner's circle, so on and so forth. So pretty sweet. Yeah, that's the one that's hurt, actually. She actually just jumped off of there. So she's been a lot more active. She's kind of figuring out how to get around herself. And rather than having to help her into the litter box, that sort of fun stuff, it's been a lot easier. So they got Carl. Dylan Wu failed you. Yeah, I didn't even play him this week, so I don't know about you. Big R, what's up? Yeah, I had a lineup in contention this week. Big R actually won our community contest. So talk your shit down there, Ryan. You might as well, right? It's what you get for winning the contest. And we had a new winner for our round 4 showdown contest. So I'm stoked to get into those here in a second. Yeah, Kitty's doing a lot better. You came in top 10 in the Masters community contest. Yeah, Carl's down here just spinning a lot of heat today. First off, good for you, right? You cashed over there. And yeah, it's the same name because it's a recurring contest. I called it the Masters. It opened at the Masters. So enough of you chirping down there, Carl. It's a Monday morning. Get some coffee in you, man. I don't know if you've had your first Monday cup. I haven't either, so I need to get that in my body. And we need to go over some of this DFS. We need to get that into our system, right, heading into the weekend here. I said down in chat just now, look at who won that contest this week. Up there, 300 points, but not been very much for main slate this week. 589 points. It was only a 5 of 6. Still got it through to the weekend. It looks like he's also hating on the woos, right? He's got a missed cut at $7,500 there, but still took down the contest. So that shows you that at a week when you've got 24 under pars out there, a Taylor Moore, right, who got the 21 under, Adam Schenk, who got the 20 under par. If you have those key pieces, you can still miss at a few spots, right? It's not like JJ Spawn really did much. Right? Only scored you 82 points. And Sunjim at $9,400 was far from an optimal play, right? Trust me, I know it, the whole Sanjay thing. He's in a lot of my top end lineups, and he's the exact reason why I'm not in the top 5 or even winning the large field GPP this week. So I don't want to spoil my results too much. It was a winning week over here. Did make some money in the large field GPP. Didn't take anything down, but if you can grind out profit, right, in one of those big rake, super large contests, he had a pretty good player pool. So I wish I had played more single entry. I wish I had taken, some time to maybe do some 2-3 maxes, maybe even like a 20 max kind of build this week. Because I probably would have taken down some contest over there. So, always, hindsight's 2020, right? You can have all the FOMO you want, but still a pretty decent week in my end. See, Provincial finished in second. Again, this is the main slate contest we're looking at here. All About Paper down here in third. UK Mr. Bean, Primero. I feel like he's on like every leaderboard. Clay Daughtry, who I know tunes into almost all of these reviews. Let's see, he had a 4 of 6. So once again, right, guys that aren't even getting 6 of 6s, the rate for 6 of 6s this week was extremely low, but still, because he had a lot of scores, like a Hadman, like a Ricky Fowler, for example, found himself at the top. Uzi Beats, watching the content. This guy's been on literally every leaderboard. So I have to say, a few names that are impressing me. That one guy, Bolt Betts, right? He won like twice in a row for the showdown contest this week. Uzi Beats is on like every leaderboard. We know how good Glavka is at DFS. This guy's a stud. He's the same kind of thing. There's a lot of the same names towards the top. So I don't know. I find that interesting, especially because it's like every slate, it feels like. Let's look for the round 4. So over here, Malky won the round 4 contest. Took Ricky Fowler, right, which was 76% owned. That's ridiculous. Yeah, I took him in my lineup for round 4 showdown. You had Rye, Moore, Hadwin, Noren, Kest. Pretty solid lineup there, right? No one that absolutely went off. This wouldn't have taken down GPPs or anything like that, but solid lineup. You can see pretty much everyone. I shouldn't say everyone, right? A lot of people had Ricky. Most people at the top did take Ricky Fowler in this contest. And not a ton of people that took Morikawa and made it pay off, right? He was cheaper. He scored more points than a Ricky Fowler. Maybe it was just because only 13% of people took somebody like Morikawa, but it didn't really pay off for the people over here. So in large field GPPs, if you look at the top of those contests, a lot of Ricky and Morikawa lineups, right, were the ones that were taking it down. I went with the Ricky Homa approach, right? I went with the Ricky Sanjay approach there for Sunday Showdown. It didn't really work out all that much, right? Homa hole-in-one, that was pretty sweet. By the way, that helped me cash a prop slip. So not only was it helping for over in Showdown, obviously, but I had him for over 5 birdies, and that was the birdie to go out there and push. So imagine that. That was quite the sweat. And yeah, so I didn't have the perfect Sunday Showdown lineups. So kind of like my main slate stuff that we'll go over here in a second. If I would have just played more 2 to 3 maxes, if I would have gone out there, maybe thrown in like a 20 max, that kind of thing, I think I would have had a much better ROI on Sunday. So I don't know. Like I said, I'm not going to change my process because of that, but it's frustrating when you don't take down the GPPs. So the lineups that took down the GPP, right, started with Ricky, okay? But then they had Cam Davis as a second man in, right? You'll see a few up here that are more Kaba and somebody like a Ricky Fowler, right? So I didn't play Kaba this week. He was a calculated fade. I didn't like the putter. He went out there. He proved me wrong. He gained a ton of strokes in rounds 1 and 4 with the flat stick. Rounds 2 and 3 were not all that good, but it didn't matter, right? He's that good of a player that he still finished in second place. So again, hindsight's 2020. It's easy to second guess yourself after the fact, but definitely at least worth noting, right? Pointing out, knowing into the future that, at these birdie fests, maybe you worry about the shitty putters in the 9-8K range, right? Obviously 6 and 7K range, you probably want to be taking some of the better putters. But when you're talking about an elite player, right? Somebody that can win at any golf course, like a Colin Morikawa, that shows up to new courses apparently and wins at like I think they were saying like a 33% clip at courses that he sees for the first time. That's ridiculous. So I don't know, at least worth considering there. If I would have had him, as you'll see here, my top 50 lineup probably would have taken it down, right? It would have changed up the bottom of the board for me a little bit, but I did have Fowler, right, as, at least 50% of my lineups this week. I played a good amount of Hadwin. We had some Taylor Moore in our lineups. I had him in 30% of my GPP lineups, so I was way, way over the field there in Taylor Moore. Somebody that was kind of like my quiet little pick I didn't want to talk about. A few other people in the industry talked about him there on Wednesday, a few on Tuesday too. That kind of pissed me off, but he was still only 8% owned. So we got away with it. Cheers to everyone out there that had Taylor Moore. I know a lot of people talked him up, so I'm sure a lot of you guys did. Not too bad. Ben Griffin, 2.3%. Wasn't a horrible play. Just take Aberg out of this lineup. And guys, after day 2, I was pretty much in 50th place. We got a pretty good weekend push from a Hadwin. I mean, Taylor Moore obviously finishing top 5. Hogard, Ben Griffin, right? They had good enough weekends, right, for large field GPPs. It all came down to Aberg for me. The guy just completely tanked my lineup. And it's so easy to say, if I just pivot to anyone else around him, I'm at least in the top 20, if not the top 10, and scaring the top of that GPP. So yeah, that's my story for this week. We still won money, right? You can see we had 715 entries, won 875 back. Okay, it's fine, right? We kept it over the positive, which for a large field GPP like this, when you're not spiking that top 10, that top 20 finish, is hard to do, right? And that's why I like going through this, right? Why I like going through our results in these GPPs, because I think people have such a diluted mindset when it comes to them. To profit in these large field GPPs, you have to spike that top end finish. That's literally how you profit in them, because they're so top heavy. I mean, even a contest like this, right? That's only a 7th to 1st. And see the payout structure up top, right? It was 20,000 to second, 10,000 to third. If you're finishing in 10th place, you're getting $1,500. That's double your money, right? To truly profit, to be at the kind of spot where you're spiking plus EV for the entire year, right? You got to finish in this top 5. So it's always going to feel sour, right? When you don't do that. I mean, even if you finish in 20th place, that's really good, right? In an 83,000 entry contest, winning $750. That's your entry fee if you max entered this contest. So it's a tough scene, like I said, right? And 50th place for me, right? I was right on the border, literally right on the border of dropping down another $100. I mean, how annoying would that have been, right? If I just got passed by one more person with this lineup. So that's what I go out there and try to point out to you guys out there. In fact, you can see because I only won 225, I must have tied with a good amount of other people with this lineup and won less than the $300. So that's the large field GPP story. I play them every week knowing that this is going to be the case. But if you're playing in these contests and expecting them to be even remotely sustainable, My whole point of doing this live stream every week is to show you that they're not, right? To show you, like, and we had that $10,000 win. I think it was like 4 weeks ago, right? Which is going to carry us for quite some time, right? And obviously, I withdrew a lot of that as soon as I won that, because that's what you do when you win some of these large field GPPs. You don't want to count on that every week, right? I mean, obviously, I think most people get that. Let's look at a few lineups down the chat. Let's catch up on the chat down below. Congrats, they are Colts, absolutely. You got a coffee there? There you go. You got a Ravenous Pig Foxtail Coffee Blonde. I have no idea what the heck that is. Sounds like some crazy drink. No idea where you got it. Appreciate the lineup feedback, of course. Traded Ludwig for Hadman at the last second. Good call. Through 2 rounds, I wouldn't have said that was a good call, but obviously through 4, I would agree. You thought it would be a decent leverage. It was, right? Like, I liked both players. Hadman was 100% going to be lower owned. And let's check in on that, right? What was his ownership? It came in at 5%. Yeah, tip of cap to you if it was on frontwards here. Good call. That was a really good leverage spot. So you were spot on with that. I would say Ludwig could have easily won this golf tournament. Oh boy, and if that happened, like I probably would have taken down the G. I mean, he was like in first place right after the first 2 rounds, like +1 even. Like, that's a choke job and a half. So all the people, including myself, that were crowning this guy after the first 2 rounds, boy, do we look like clowns right now. Your brother bet home a hole in one pre-tournament. Yeah, that's not too bad. Put a little $2.50 on it, right? Win 256. You love to see it. That's pretty sweet. Tell him congrats from me. That's pretty cool. That's pretty sweet. All right, so what I want to do now is go through some ownership stuff, which I don't have it downloaded yet because I'm a slappy. I didn't have my morning coffee. But if you bear with me here for 30 seconds to a minute, I'll have it all up for you, which, in fact, we already have it up. So there we go. And it's not going to be pretty colored like we normally see on here, but it'll get the job done. How's that sound? Alrighty. So we'll make it more readable here, but we're going to sort this by ownership and just look at who the chalk was this week. And we can take a look at some of the ownership trends. Again, I apologize. Normally, I do have this much prettier. I have it sorted. We're able to compare it to my projections, so on and so forth. But I woke up late today. No excuses, right? No morning coffee for your boy. So a little bit behind. So I've got this sorted by ownership over here on the right. You've got your highest owned players at the top and obviously your lowest owned players towards the bottom. Ricky Fowler at 35%. That was a surprise to me. I did not think he was going to be 35% owned. My projections were closer to 26.5% owned, I believe. So I was a solid 7.5% off, almost 8% off on a Ricky Fowler there. And didn't really affect me, though. I went way over the field at 25%. Right? I played 55% Fowler. I played him extensively, right, in all the single entries that I went after. And it worked out, right? I got some leverage. I didn't get like all the leverage to the field. I was never going to play 65-70% Ricky Fowler, right? Even if I knew he was 35% owned, I probably still would have played like 55%. So that's what I mean when I say like it didn't change my process, but certainly was an eye-opener waking up there and seeing that he was 34.83% owned. He had Hideki at 25%. That's right where I had him. Sanjay maybe a little bit higher owned than I expected. He was, I believe, at like 23% in my ownership projections. Ekro, 22%. Thank Lord, thank fuck we faded him this week. That guy is an absolute bum. If people thought after 4 starts that guy was something, shame on you is all I've got to say. If you played 22% owned Austin Eckert last week, shame on you. Yeah, JT sucked. Who else was a piece of chalk that just absolutely blew, right? You had Eckert, obviously, Hideki, right, missed the cut. I played Hideki and Justin Thomas. So let me not completely absolve myself here from playing guys that played like absolute donkeys this week. But at least JT and Hideki are like decent high upside players that have done it before. Austin Eckert, like, no thank you. I'll never play him over like 15%. You guys playing him at 22% are absolutely nuts. Ludwig, 16%. That seems right about right. It's right about where my ownership had him. Tony Finau, actually a little bit lower owned than I think we expected. I think I had him like 1.5%, 2% higher owned. So it wasn't off drastically, but a lot of people, right, played Ricky, right? When you have somebody that sucked up 8% extra ownership, a lot of the guys you have projected around him are going to be over projected, right? And that's essentially what happened with Finau there. That's why we were off by like 1.5%, 2%. Benny Ann got some ownership. Aaron Rye got some ownership. We knew that was going to happen. I stayed away from them. The Rye fade did not work out. The Benny Ann one did. You had Keegan Bradley, Morikawa there. Kawa only 11% owned. That was the nuts. That's another guy who was lower owned than he should have been because of the steam that you were getting going to Ricky Fowler, right, at 35% owned. So in hindsight, if I would have known that we'd get like a 16, 17% owned Finau and then a 12% owned Colin Morikawa because of what's happening to Ricky, I would have still played Ricky, right? But maybe this is hindsight, right? Maybe I would have played Morikawa at 12% over either a JT or a Decky at 25% because it's not like I didn't expect them to get ownership. Like I knew they were going to be chalky, right? I just thought they were better plays because I thought Morikawa was at least going to be like 15 to 16% owned. Right? I didn't think he was going to be half the ownership there. In hindsight, if I would have known that, I can almost guarantee you that I would have made that pivot. So shame on all the ownership services out there that still thought that Morikawa that was going to get some of that steam because I even mine did. My algorithm, right? What's it? Let me bring it up on the other sheet here. I'm curious. Where did I have Morikawa like finishing at in terms of ownership? We've got to figure that out. I got to find the actual projection sheet, not the. All right, there we are. All right, I had Morikawa 18.1%. Oof. No, way higher than I thought. Not even like 15, 16%. Yeah, that's why I faded him, right? My ownership projection was just way off there. So if I'm trying to critique myself, I'm trying to learn something, we got to get that ownership projection better because it literally changed my strategy. Like the Ricky Fowler one did not, but on the other end of that, right, the player that had the ownership taken away, right, where all the ownership was going to Ricky, that did impact my strategy this week. So, screw you, Colin. You couldn't have just sucked this week like you do 90% of the time. But he scored 136. He still got 103 out of Homa. So it didn't, I mean, that's a 30-point gap, though. I mean, that's pretty drastic. Jeez Louise. And that's even it with the hole-in-one points. Doug Gim got some ownership. He smashed his chalk. Cam Davis was only 9% owned. That was a heck of a play. Chris Kirk was a heck of a play at 8% owned. Not the nuts plays, right? Weren't going to win you a GPP, but at that kind of ownership, if they just played a little bit better this week, right, could have broken the slate. So if you were on those sort of plays, don't kill yourself too much about it. Taylor Pendrith, that was a heck of a score there. Dylan Wu scored 105 points. Who the heck said that Dylan Wu let you down? What are you talking about? This guy was like 7K and he scored 105 points. He didn't let you down for shit, dude. What the heck? That's like the nuts play in this range. Who else scored better than him? Brian Harmon, and Brian Harmon was in the 8K range. Yeah, no. Yeah, whoever said that earlier had to have been trolling. There's no way. He had himself quite the week over there. If we're going to look at any sort of trends, I guess the one thing to note, right, is that this really chalky play in Ricky Fowler got to the 35% mark. That doesn't happen very often. Normally it's like a John Rahm at the Mexico Open sort of thing. Maybe it's, a hyper good player, right? Top 10, top 20 player in a John Deere Classic sort of field, right? This week was a little bit more competitive. You at least had like 5 to 10 guys that were, good elite tier players capable of winning at any sort of golf course. And he still got to 35% of it. And he's not a John Rahm, right? It's still Ricky Fowler, and it's at a course that he's never won at before. That's kind of wild. That's something that I'm going to have to incorporate going forward. And maybe I'm going to have to make myself more willing to post guys at 30% plus projected ownership, even for a main slate contest. I mean, we see that all the time for Showdown over the weekend, but for main slate even, because like this shouldn't have happened. You shouldn't have had a 35% in Ricky Fowler this week. So I don't know. I'm glad I played him. I'm glad I bet him outright. Again, I'm 28K richer because of that, but can't hate it. Where are we at? Florida-based coffee shop. Gotcha. Okay. It sounds better than what I have. This is just a freaking Dunkin' coffee, but I have to say Dunkin' coffee, I know it's simple. It definitely gets the job done. Yeah, Brandon Wu did let you down. See, that's the thing, right? He missed the cut. Earlier, you were saying that you were let down by, what is it, Dylan Wu? Bro, the guy went off this week. He had an albatross this week, man. That was pretty sweet, by the way. Wish they had a video of it. But it was like 277 yards. He dunked it. You'll take it, especially when you get all those points on DraftKings. We're going to go ahead, cut it off at this point. I appreciate all your support here on the channel. Next week, hopefully, instead of spiking for like a slightly profitable week, it's us spiking for that top 5, top 10 finish and going out there and really taking home the big bucks. That's the idea, at least. We'll try and give ourselves a shot at it. We'll have all the content dropping as the week goes on. First off, course breakdown, core plays this afternoon. You guys know the deal. So make sure to hit the like button on the way out of here. And if you're watching this on replay and you want your lineup reviewed, you can leave a comment and I'll try and get back to you via text. So I know it's not the same. Try and show up to these review streams throughout the week. And if you weren't able to get into the community contest, check out all my content this week. I'll have a link on all the videos that I'm dropping. And that's the best way to get your lineups reviewed, right? I can just go into the contest, can look at the ownership numbers, I can look at exactly how your players scored, and just makes my job a little bit easier. So like I said, appreciate you guys. Until next time, let's get this cash.